you know that China, one of the world's largest economies, is currently facing one of its biggest challenges yet? While economists around the globe suggest boosting household spending as a way out, President Xi Jinping has a completely different plan. His strategy, leaning on science and technology to propel the nation forward. It's a bold move that promises to redirect investments from traditional sectors like property into groundbreaking innovation. But will it work? In this video, we'll dive deep into Xi's plan, examining the facts, the risks, and global implications. We'll uncover how this strategy could change not just China, but the global economy. And here's the kicker. Stick around until the very end because we've got a surprising historical parallel that you won't want to miss. Let's get started. For decades, China's economy has been a model of rapid growth and industrial success, earning its place as the second largest economy in the world. Yet beneath this impressive exterior lies a critical imbalance. Unlike most developed countries where household consumption drives economic growth, China relies heavily on investment and exports. To truly understand this imbalance, we need to take a closer look at how China's economy operates. Household consumption refers to the money people spend on goods and services like groceries, entertainment, and housing. In countries like the United States, it accounts for roughly 70% of GDP, creating a consumer-driven economy. But in China, household consumption contributes only about 40% of GDP, according to Project Syndicate. This stark contrast highlights a system where the average Chinese citizen spends significantly less than their counterparts in Western economies. Instead of consumer spending, China's growth has long depended on two pillars: large-scale investments in infrastructure and export-driven manufacturing. Consider the case of Guizhou, a southwestern province famous for its lush mountains and winding rivers. In recent years, Guizhou has invested heavily in infrastructure projects, constructing over 1,000 bridges, including marvels like the Doge Bridge, one of the highest in the world. At first glance, this might seem like an economic triumph. However, a deeper look reveals a troubling reality. Most Guizhou residents are low-income farmers or workers with little need for these elaborate projects. The bridges, while impressive, have done little to boost productivity or generate significant tax revenue. Instead, they've saddled the province with enormous debt, forcing local authorities to rely on bailouts from the central government. This is not an isolated case. Across China, similar projects have emerged, prioritizing growth metrics over practical utility. While these investments may temporarily inflate GDP figures, they don't always lead to sustainable economic benefits. In fact, they often exacerbate existing problems like local debt and resource misallocation. International economists, including those from the IMF, have repeatedly urged China to address this imbalance by promoting household spending. The reasoning is simple. A stronger domestic market could reduce reliance on exports and make growth more sustainable. However, the Atlantic Council noted that the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has resisted such advice, favoring its traditional investment-driven model. As we'll explore, this reluctance has fueled debates among economists worldwide. When it comes to fixing China's economic issues, economists have a clear recommendation: increase household spending. By giving people more purchasing power, China could transition to a consumer-driven economy like many Western nations. The logic is straightforward. If citizens spend more on goods and services, it creates demand that fuels businesses and encourages further investments. Yet this seemingly simple solution faces significant resistance from China's leadership. As noted by East Asia Forum, one reason for this resistance is the CCP's preference for state-directed growth. For decades, China's economic strategy has revolved around controlling investment to drive development in key sectors. This top-down approach has yielded remarkable achievements, transforming the country into a global manufacturing hub. However, critics argue that this model has reached its limits. Without stronger domestic demand, even the most advanced industries may struggle to thrive. The debate becomes even more contentious when we consider how economists envision boosting household consumption. Suggestions often include measures like raising wages, improving social welfare programs, and reducing income inequality. These steps would empower citizens to spend more, driving economic growth from the bottom up. However, implementing such policies would require significant shifts in China's political and economic priorities, something the CCP appears unwilling to consider. In recent months, there was a brief moment of hope that China might change course. When the government announced measures to stabilize the struggling property sector and stock markets, some saw this as a potential pivot toward consumer-focused growth. But the optimism didn't last. It soon became clear that these measures were short-term fixes rather than a comprehensive strategy to address the country's underlying economic challenges. According to U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission, critics of the CCP's approach highlight another key issue: inefficient investments. They argue that redirecting funds into sectors like technology may not solve the problem if consumers lack the purchasing power to support these industries. Imagine developing cutting-edge electric vehicles or advanced consumer gadgets in a market where most people can't afford them. Without robust demand, even the most innovative products may struggle to gain traction. On the other hand, Xi Jinping and his leadership team view this differently. For them, household consumption isn't the ultimate driver of growth. Instead, they believe technological advancements and state-guided investment hold the key to China's future. This fundamental disagreement has fueled ongoing debates among economists, policymakers, and analysts worldwide. As we'll see in the next section, Xi's vision represents a bold and controversial departure from traditional economic thinking. If you're finding this deep dive into China's economic strategy as fascinating as we are, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another thought-provoking analysis like this one. Now, back to the story. Recent reports show that Xi Jinping's plan to save China's economy centers on one core idea: science and technology as the ultimate solutions. For years, economists have advised China to pivot toward boosting household consumption, but Xi has chosen a radically different path. His vision: redirect China's massive investment machine away from traditional sectors like property and infrastructure and focus it instead on innovation. This isn't just an economic strategy, it's a bold attempt to reshape China's future. At the heart of Xi's plan is the belief that technological advancement drives economic progress. In his speeches, he often emphasizes the transformative power of science, pointing to key moments in history when innovation sparked rapid growth. Xi sees this as China's moment to lead the next wave of global technological breakthroughs. He's made it clear that investments in areas like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, green energy, and biotechnology are central to his strategy. Why this focus on science? For Xi, it's about more than just economics, it's also about geopolitics. In today's world, technological leadership is synonymous with global influence. By dominating industries like semiconductors, renewable energy, and advanced manufacturing, China can secure its place as a global superpower. The New York Times reported that Xi has repeatedly stressed that science and technology are the weapons of the country, framing innovation as essential to China's national security and global standing. But Xi's vision is not without its skeptics. Critics argue that top-down investments in technology won't automatically translate into economic growth. For example, creating cutting-edge products is one thing, but ensuring there's a market for them is another. If Chinese households lack the purchasing power to buy electric vehicles, high-tech gadgets, or renewable energy solutions, these industries may struggle to sustain themselves. Despite these concerns, Xi's government is doubling down on its strategy. Massive funds are being channeled into research and development, with state-backed firms and universities leading the charge. Xi's goal is ambitious: to position China as the epicenter of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Whether this gamble will pay off remains uncertain, but there's no denying the boldness of his vision. To understand Xi Jinping's strategy, we need to take a step back and look at history. The concept of industrial revolutions is often used to describe transformative periods in human progress. The first industrial revolution, sparked by the steam engine, revolutionized transportation and manufacturing in the 18th century. The second, powered by steel, electricity, and fossil fuels, ushered in the modern age in the 19th century. The third, known as the Digital Revolution, brought the internet and modern computing to life in the late 20th century. As noted by Foreign Policy, Xi believes we are on the brink of a fourth industrial revolution, one driven by artificial intelligence, advanced robotics, renewable energy, and biotechnology. and he's determined to make China the leader of this new era. In official CCP literature, this vision is referred to as a new round of scientific and technological revolution, signaling the government's commitment to spearheading this transformation. So what does this mean in practical terms? For China, it involves massive investments in strategic sectors. The government is pouring resources into AI research, smart manufacturing, clean energy technologies, and semiconductor production. These industries are seen as the building blocks of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and Xi's administration is betting big on their potential to redefine global economies. But here's where the gamble comes in. Leading an industrial revolution isn't easy. It requires not just financial resources, but also innovation, creativity, and market readiness. Critics argue that China's top-down approach, while effective in mobilizing resources, may stifle the very creativity needed for groundbreaking discoveries. Additionally, the Fourth Industrial Revolution is a high-stakes game with global competition. The United States, Europe, and other regions are racing to lead in these same sectors, creating a fiercely competitive landscape. Another challenge is timing. While these investments may eventually pay off, technological revolutions often take years, or even decades, to yield significant economic benefits. In the meantime, China's other issues like mounting debt and low domestic demand could worsen. Ultimately, Xi's ambition to lead the Fourth Industrial Revolution reflects both his confidence in China's potential and his willingness to take enormous risks. Whether China can deliver the breakthroughs needed to fulfill this vision will determine the success or failure of this bold strategy. While Xi's strategy may seem bold and visionary, it comes with significant risks. First and foremost is the issue of domestic demand. Even if China becomes a leader in cutting-edge technology, its success hinges on whether there's sufficient demand for these innovations. The truth is, many Chinese households are financially constrained. Without addressing this fundamental issue, it's hard to see how technology investments alone will drive sustainable growth. For example, take electric vehicles, EVs. China has made remarkable strides in EV production, with companies like BYD producing advanced, affordable models. But according to Bloomberg, many Chinese citizens can't afford these vehicles, limiting the domestic market. To compensate, manufacturers rely heavily on exports. This brings us to another challenge: growing international resistance to Chinese exports. Many countries, wary of their dependence on Chinese goods, are imposing stricter trade policies or encouraging domestic production. The United States, for instance, has introduced measures to reduce reliance on Chinese semiconductors and other technologies. If more nations follow suit, China could find itself with advanced products but fewer buyers, both domestically and internationally. Then there's the issue of inefficient investments. History offers a cautionary tale here. In the mid-20th century, BBC reports show that the Soviet Union poured enormous resources into science and technology, aiming to outpace the West. While this approach yielded some successes like the space race, it ultimately failed to generate broad-based economic growth. The Soviet economy stagnated, and its inability to meet domestic needs contributed to its eventual collapse. Could China face a similar fate? The parallels are striking. Like the Soviet Union, China's focus on state-directed investment risks overlooking the needs of ordinary citizens. If these investments don't yield transformative breakthroughs, the consequences could be dire, not just economically, but socially and politically. So, is Xi's plan destined to succeed, or is it a high-stakes gamble with no guarantee of payoff? The answer depends on several factors. On the optimistic side, China has proven itself capable of extraordinary innovation. The nation has already made significant advancements in areas like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and renewable energy. If these efforts lead to groundbreaking discoveries, something akin to the steam engine or electricity, it could usher in a new era of economic growth. Moreover, China's centralized approach allows it to mobilize resources on an unprecedented scale. Unlike countries where innovation is driven by market forces, China's government can direct investments towards strategic industries, ensuring a focused and coordinated effort. However, this top-down model also has its drawbacks. Innovation thrives on freedom and competition, qualities that are often stifled in a highly controlled environment. If the CCP prioritizes political loyalty over merit, it could hinder the creativity needed to achieve Xi's vision. Another challenge lies in the timeline. Technological revolutions don't happen overnight. Even if China is on the cusp of major breakthroughs, it could take years, if not decades, for these innovations to translate into tangible economic benefits. In the meantime, the country's other economic problems like debt and inequality could worsen. Ultimately, Xi's plan represents a gamble not just on technology, but on the belief that state-directed innovation can overcome the limitations of a consumption-driven economy. Whether this gamble pays off remains to be seen. Xi Jinping's strategy to revive China's economy through science is as ambitious as it is risky. By redirecting investment from property to technology, he hopes to spark a new industrial revolution that will secure China's economic and geopolitical future. But with challenges like low domestic demand, global trade tensions, and the inherent unpredictability of innovation, the path ahead is anything but certain. And now, as promised, here's your bonus insight. Did you know that the Soviet Union's focus on state-driven science in the 20th century mirrors Xi's current strategy? While it yielded impressive achievements, it also contributed to the USSR's economic decline. Could China avoid the same fate? Only time will tell. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into one of the most fascinating economic strategies of our time. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more content. And don't forget to check out our next video, North Korea's True Purpose Finally Revealed. Until next time, stay curious.